Tony Calloway, your private money godfather here. And I want to talk to you about startup financing for startups using private money. There are a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of those are based on people believing that they can't get funding. But now let me tell you some of the rules of thumb for being able to get financing for your startup business. Now, here are one of the really good things that you need to know up front. Now, this is a business-to-business transaction, so using private capital, non-traditional financing, you'll need to have an entity, an LLC, or a corporation, C Corp, S Corp, look on a menu and you decide which is going to work best for you, get some advice on that. But an entity with a tax ID, and you also need to have an associated business account. All right, so that's the setup. You got to have those for your setup to be able to do private funding somewhere by the time it closes, not necessarily at the end. Now, the things that you have to show are two things, ideally. One is that you need to either have cash flow now or immediately related to the funding of the project, and or collateral. That means if you don't perform, the lender has something of substantial value that they can use to recoup the losses that they would incur if things go south. All right, so you can't come say, hey, I got an idea, I want to get private funding, generally speaking, because there's no cash flow and there's no collateral. Now, let's say you're going to want to start a transportation business. Now, generally speaking, your credit score, and if you got a 700 is golden, but we've gotten funding for people down as low as 620, all right, as far as startups. So I would just generally say being a 680 or better, and you should be looking good on the credit score part. Now, there are opportunities for you to get funding through private lending that use your personal income, your job, okay, your job income to represent the cash flow part. But the loan is made to your entity. That's why you have to have the entity. Otherwise, there'll be a personal loan that falls under different regulatory jurisdiction. So let's say that as a rule of thumb, you've got $5,000 of household income or partnership income if you're working with somebody, or a personal income, and you've got a 680, 700 credit score. 700 gets you everything you want in life. All right, 700 credit score. And now you can get a loan that will be made to your business through the private money syndicate. Okay, we call that startup financing. Just to kind of go back, you can't come saying, hey, I want to get a loan to start a business without having some kind of cash flow from some existing operations or personally speaking, okay? So now the higher your income, along with the higher the credit score, generally the more you'll be able to get. Now, notice I said you, household, or partners, okay? So subject to what you're trying to do, look at whose all income can be combined to be subject to the financing. Now, last two things I put in here are something called recourse and non-recourse. Recourse means that personal liability for repayment of the loan. In most cases, if you're doing startup financing, it's going to be recourse financing. Somebody's going to be personal. All parties' signature to the loan are going to be personally liable. Rare instances, very rare instances, and the only ones I know of where there's some super duper collateral, like a transportation company, trucks, or real estate where you have actual real property, then you can get non-recourse financing, which means the entity is who's responsible for payment, not the parties who signed for the loan. Don't expect to get that for a startup. All right, so if you're looking to get funding for your startup business, then please contact the Private Money Syndicate by going to privatemoneysyndicate.com, privatemoneysyndicate.com. Go through all the resources we have, tremendous FAQ, frequently asked questions that answers just about anything you want to know, but schedule a consultation and we'll see what we can do to get your dream of starting a business powered with private money. Thanks a lot.